Now that you've been on a tour in the helicopter and you've got a chance to see R&R Connor's operations from the air, you've got to see hundreds of thousands of acres of burnt timber and see what the bark beetle epidemic has done to our forests. We do not believe in wasting our forests, watching it burn, watching it die of bugs and fall on the ground and become future fires and virtually just be wasted. We feel that we can bring it into the yard and we can actually recover value out of those logs instead of letting them go to waste. So it is a pride thing, you know, and it's the way the future is going, because we have to use the resources that we have in our own country and quit being dependent on other countries such as Canada and, you know, Chile and New Zealand. I mean, we bring wood from all over the world to the United States when we have a forest full of dead trees that could be utilized to fulfill those markets.
I'm John, and my job is to take the timber that we're bringing in and to find markets for it and to merchandise it past just selling logs to mills. Most of the Doug fir timbers are harvested off the coast. They call it coastal fir. We're what is termed inland fir. On the coastal fir only, if you have more than 20 growth rings per inch, it's considered a dense piece of wood. We're not actually allowed to stamp ours dense, but ours has way more than 20 growth rings and technically is incredibly strong wood. This wood is kind of exciting to me because it's a special piece of wood. It's not like anything else that you can buy on a normal commodity basis. Very seldom can you find a true 2x-anything or a 8x8 or a 6x6, and we're sawing this beautiful full sawn Douglas fir timber out of actually reclaimed wood from our own forests. You get a dry piece of wood as if it were kiln dried, and it's all graded, it's all stamped dry, but it's still a full sawn piece of wood, and that's a very difficult thing to find. If you get a 2x4, it is 2 inches by 4 inches, just like it was when they built houses around the turn of the century. Same with the timbers. If you buy a timber, it can be full sawn, or we can saw it because of the saws that we're using to the exact size, nominal size that you want on a special order basis. But it's a stable wood that's going to be there. You don't have to wait for it to see where it's going to twist. You don't have to see where it's going to shake. Whatever's happening with this wood has already happened to it, and that piece of wood is just gorgeous. Everything we're cutting, it doesn't have any sapwood on it left. We're cutting it right out of the heart of that tree, so everything has this kind of an amber tone to it. The white streaks you see in some fir or some sawn wood is the sapwood on the tree. It's not nearly as strong, it's not nearly as resistant to decay, it's not as resistant to insects, and it also isn't as strong in its density to make a beam out of or to hold your house up. It's also incredibly ecologically sound. To get that same dry piece of wood, it has to go into a sawmill, sometimes at a long distance away, be sawn, and then go into a kiln and dry for a week to 3 weeks or 4 weeks if it's a great big timber. Probably still isn't dry enough, but has used hundreds of dollars in that process for energy that we don't have to use. Mother Nature did it for us right out in the woods. We are in Montana. We're only bringing this wood a few miles to this location. We're not trucking it across the country. The wood that pretty much this wood competes against, most of that timber is moving down out of Canada with tremendous fuel costs involved. The majority of our wood is running as a 2 and better grade, which means it has a few knots in it, stuff, no clear through cracks. We run a lot of select timbers also, and those timbers are just absolutely gorgeous. A lot of them are being sold into timber framers, and the timber framers love to use this wood because that wood is going to be stable for a long time. It's just going to stay right where it is, probably for 200 years, and be what it is. Just like some of the stuff that you've seen that was used at the turn of the century in the old barns and stuff, that's the type of wood that we're creating from its inception, rather than going through a long, drawn-out drying process that takes a lot of energy. We cut it full sawn, and we sell it to a myriad of different type of clients. We also sell a lot of this wood to the log home industry, timber framers, as I said, fence companies. We've had it used as siding, we've had it remanufactured into many things like paneling and flooring and decking for the roof. We've even had some picture frames made out of it. We've made some lath out of it. We've made lath and stakes out of it. Firewood, we're breaking that firewood down into numerous ways, all the way from the little bundle for the campground sites to fifth cords for people coming for a week or two, to full cords and full truckloads of the wood. It's just every product we can find where there's a market for it, we're turning this wood into it. And we believe it's probably the finest wood of its type available. We don't have to destroy a live tree for it. It's already cured. It already is what it's going to be. What you see is what you get. You don't buy a piece of wood that looks pretty now, dries a little bit more, crack or warp, or like in Reson kiln dried wood, it'll cup. You've seen cupping on the wall. This wood isn't going to do this. Most of this wood's been sitting here in this hot sun, and you can see it hasn't moved an inch. It just sits right there. And that's the way it's going to be at your house. Most of our clients come back. As a matter of fact, I think when we look through it, every single client we've had has come back and bought from us again. That means they're happy. It makes it a great job. Our workers are happy. Our sawyers are happy. Our drivers are happy. They're all working. And they're working with a product that's doing some good for our society.
If there's anything that I'd like people to get out of this message that R&R is trying to make, is the fact that logging is not necessarily a bad word. It's actually a technique or a tool that is used to manage our forests and extract valuable resources that we use in everyday life, not just our homes. All a person really needs to do is take a look around him and look at all the things that come from our forests that are made out of wood. We feel that we are the true stewards of the forest. We live in the forest every day. We see what's going on out there. And the techniques and the methods of logging that are being used in the 21st century are actually enhancing the forest and helping prevent future wildfires or devastation from outbreaks of bark beetles. We feel that by using these methods of logging, we can actually mimic what Mother Nature did and live amongst it with minimal impact. The bottom line is it's a resource. And if we let this resource rot and die in the forest or burn up in a forest fire, you know, it makes no sense because we actually have a demand for these resources. If there was no demand, we wouldn't be doing it and that we would have no need for them. The non-management approach is actually hurting the forest more than it's helping it. You know, we as humans, we live amongst these forests. And if we take the human element out of it and try to go back to the way it was before we came here, it's virtually impossible to live amongst it, and we all enjoy the beauty of the forest. So we hope to show people that we can coexist and utilize the forest that we need for our next generation.